What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome to another Resplendent review. Today I'll be taking a look at Seth and gonna be going over the builds that you could run on him in the modern times, and at the end I'll have a special bonus segment because Seth definitely deserves it. So we have got Seth as a Gen 1 Sword Cavalier with Silver Brand as his preferred weapon. He got released on 15th August 2017 with the banner of Amelia, and he was the demote unit. So despite him being such a strong unit in Sacred Stones and easily one of the strongest units in the entire series, he got the demote treatment and to rub the salt on the wound. He also got a pretty underwhelming weapon refine. So he was released with Rupee Sword as his weapon, and then upon the weapon refine he still held on to that gem weapon effect, and then he just had Speed Tactic 3 in his refine, and that is pretty much it. So even back then, all those years ago, it was considered an underwhelming weapon refine. I mean, sure, Speed Tactic was not really easily available compared to now, but still, it was a lackluster support refine, and there were many support units that you could have used instead. So unfortunately, he ended up getting a really weird support refine, and the gem weapon effect was good for its time for stuff like Arena Assault, but with time, the advantage in the weapons triangle has definitely dissociated because of all of the insanity that we have nowadays in the skills, and it doesn't really matter as much anymore. So unfortunately, Seth got the short end of the stick, and his stat spread is also pretty wonky with a super boon in the HP, and his attack is not really all that high, and you could say that for all of his stats. He could be compared with the other 3-star, 4-star Sword Cavaliers, and Ares is going to be having similar defense, a bit lower speed but a bit higher attack, and definitely a much more usable weapon in Dark Mistletoe. And then we also have Kent, who has got higher offenses, but even outside of these, there's just so much competition when it comes to the Sword Cavalry archetype that Seth is going to be really hard to recommend to build up in 2024. And if you're going to be building him up, then you would have to ditch his Silver Brand. It's not even worth your Divine Dues, and instead you could run Farmer's Tool Plus. So this is a free-to-play weapon, and you could try and run this even if you don't have Arcane Devourer. So it does have bonus doubler 4 built in, so that's definitely much better. And it also gives you the visible buff of attack and defense, so alarm speed defense is going to be overlapping a bit. We don't really have alarm speed resistance, but still it is a good skill to get the Canto. And then for the special, you could run Ether so that you can get 15 true damage with Gambit and also get that 50% damage reduction. All of that is pierceable, but still if you want to make him a bulky Sword Cavalier, then this could be the way by stat stacking and also getting the damage reduction. And you could run Attack Speed Clash 4 as his Thoughty skill. It's definitely one of his better options, as it does give him the attack and speed debuff neutralization. And you could run the alarm speed defense if you have an extra Noah. This is going to be giving you Canto for retreating, and distant counter melee could be the Sacred Seal of choice if you want to tank the enemies, but you can always run Attack Speed Catch 4 if you want to stack up more speed, and Seth definitely needs a lot of speed. So you might as well get everything out of this kind of weapon that can give him plus 10 to all of his stats. But ultimately you could run Arcane Devourer. That is the best weapon to be run on a Sword Cavalier that doesn't really have a lot of options. So this could be run with no quarter, and because of the special charges of Arcane Devourer, you can always retaliate back with no quarters and pierce the damage reduction of the enemy. An Odd Defense Wave is actually a pretty nice skill that you could run in conjunction with this weapon, because you get the full tempo effect, and he does have good enough defense, so triggering the tempo effect is going to be pretty nice, and you're going to be able to retaliate back with no quarter no matter what. And with the Guard Attune skill, you're going to be able to stop the enemy from charging up their specials. So Odd Defense Wave could be run, and you could even opt for the Ascended Asset on defense instead of going with the attack. He doesn't really have the highest attack, so that's why Attack Asset could definitely help him at higher investment, but you definitely want to speed stack on him and make use of his bulk. And you could also run Speed Defense Neotrace 4, so at the bare minimum this is going to be giving you Canto 2, and you also get some true damage, which is much needed on an older unit like Seth, and you also get the full null follow-up out of Arcane Devourer, so you make good use out of his speed, and also you get the tempo effect by using his defense. There are not a lot of attune skill options, and if you really want to give him one, then Guard Echo works out pretty nicely with Odd Defense Wave like I mentioned before, and it does help him function as a bit better tanky Cavalier. And at max investment, you definitely want to run him with Attack Speed XL, and Potent 4. So this will need an extra Bright Chirina, and he could run No Quarter with Emblem Celica so that he can warp, and the warping is taken into the account when you calculate XL and its flat damage reduction. So it's a pretty good skill, and Potent 4 is quite nice on a unit like Seth who doesn't really have that high of a speed stat, I mean, compared to the modern standards. So this can help him get the potent follow-up attack, and you're still going to be piercing the damage reduction yourself with No Quarter. And alarm attack speed could be run so that he can get the Canto 1 status. I find that having some kind of Canto is good on any kind of Cavalier. So if you're not running the tier 4 version of the Neotrace skill, you could run the alarm skill in a slot C, and then you can just stack up the speed with attack speed Cat Sacred Seal and use the Attune Guard skill. There's no tempo effect, but still Guard Attune skill can be helpful on this kind of max investment set. If I had to give him a re-refine, I would completely revamp this weapon and get rid of the support and just focus on Seth's combat, which is the most memorable thing for a lot of people when they first played Sacred Stones. So I would have the gem weapon effect, but I would make some modifications to it. So he's going to be getting Weapon Strangle advantage against and also inflicting Weapon Strangle disadvantage on red and colorless foes, and he neutralizes his own Weapon Strangle disadvantage against the blue foes. So it does make sense to me on the combat of a unit like Seth, and then he's going to be getting +4 to all of his stats in the combat, also special cooldown +1 per attack, and 40% damage reduction on foes' first attacks, including the brave hits. So those effects are a bit generic, but his refine is pretty unique. So I would give him minus in special cooldown, which he really needs, and also I'm going to be giving him another round of +4 to all of his stats and the null guard. And then comes the spicy part. So if he has got the Weapon Strangle advantage against colorless, red, or green units, then he's going to be boosting his attack by 40%. That is double than what you get out of the gem weapon. So I've tried to increase it a bit so that his damage output can be a lot better. And he also gets the dual phase Brave effect when he has the Weapon Strangle advantage. And the Brave effect is easily one of the most timeless effects that we have had in Fate that doesn't really have any kind of counter. So that makes Seth into a really strong Cavalier, especially when he boosts his attack by 40%. And then I would also have the feud effect on the foe, just to make it so that Seth can have much better combat against his opponent that he's likely going to be having Weapon Strangle advantage against. So everything except for the blue foes, he's going to be getting all of this against them in the combat, which is going to be making him a lot more of a formidable unit. Because he has got special charges in his weapon and minus on special cooldown and null guard, he's going to be able to run No Quarter and trigger it on his brave attack. So that is pretty strong, and that is going to be making his damage output and his killing potential much better with the improved Weapon Strangle advantage that I've given him. So let me know what you think about my revamp of his silver brand, and I want to thank all of my YouTube members for their constant support. You can click the link on the stream right now to check out my breakdown of this month's weapon refines. And make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube set boxes are about as functional as gem weapon refines. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.